So how much of an impact does changing a quarterback really have on a wide receiver? Well, if you're Nico Collins in the Houston Texans, 2023 was all the evidence you needed about the benefits of such a development. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss, another 2024 early fantasy football player analyzer report. These are going to be posted daily from now through the start of the 2024 season. There is nobody who's already this heavily involved in 2024 fantasy football than yours truly. So make sure you're a subscriber. And these players, I'm going to probably do multiple videos on them as we go further along. If things change, draft picks change their value, new quarterbacks, injuries, whatever, I'm going to be on top of all of it. So make sure you're part of the fun because these are going to be coming hot and heavy. Now, as far as Nico Collins is concerned, 2023, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, proof positive of what a change for the better at the quarterback position can do for a very talented, burgeoning wide receiver like Nico Collins was. So, his first 2 years in the league, anybody who watched Collins, his first 2 years in the league, and he was originally a third-round pick of the team back in 2021. When you watch Collins in 2021 and 2022, you saw a talented ex-receiver who could get downfield, get separation, make contested catches, has good speed. He checked a lot of boxes, Nico Collins, all right? And you saw flashes of potential. But the fact of the matter is, during those 2 years, his first 2 years in the league, he was catching passes from really bad quarterbacks, right? Chief among them, Davis Mills, who started the majority of games during that span. Tyrod Taylor was in there as well. Even though Tyrod Taylor wins games, he's not a good pure passer. He's an athlete more than a quarterback. He does a lot of good stuff off script, but he's not a passer high-end passer per se. So Collins really just did as good as he possibly could. All right, he averaged 13 yards a catch, which on the surface was a good number. He showed the speed, he showed the ability to get separation, all of the traits that hinted at high-end ability if he just got a quarterback. Well, fast forward to the hiring of DeMeco Ryans. Shift in philosophy in the front office. They really were just going to go for it for the 2023 NFL draft, and certainly they did by using the number 2 pick on C.J. Stroud after Bryce Young was taken number 1 by the Carolina Panthers. So they got their quarterback at number 2 in C.J. Stroud, and then, of course, getting Will Anderson to pick after that. Nobody, even the biggest sycophant of C.J. Stroud that's out there could not have foreseen how incredibly awesome Stroud was from the jump, all right? Just watching him from the get-go, he had that it factor. Gets the ball out quick, uncanny accuracy you just can't teach. C.J. Stroud, I've said this multiple times in streams throughout the course of the season, is one of the most accurate quarterbacks I have ever seen coming out of college. Just the way he delivers that ball into open windows before receivers even get in their break. He sees the play before it develops, and you can't teach that. And that ability fully unlocked not only Nico Collins, but allowed Tank Dell to explode as a rookie. Third-round pick himself out of the University of Houston to explode as a rookie. But this is a video about Nico Collins. Again, right out of the gate, you saw it. Now, Collins was a late middle-round pick. Nobody really actively sought him in drafts because nobody saw C.J. Stroud playing this well this early on. There were offensive line concerns as well. Texans have just been a bad team for a long time. But 2 of the first 4 games, Collins comes out with 27 and 35 PPR points. Those are massive numbers for a wide receiver. If a quarterback or running back puts up 27 and 35 fantasy points, those are big numbers. But when a receiver does it, that's incredible. Right? And so right out of the gate, to put up those kind of numbers early on, just incredible stuff. So Collins, he has that game-breaking ability. He's got the height, the speed, all the things we talked about. So he was really stamping himself as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Now, wide receiver 2, because Tank Dell, like I said, also exploded. Tank Dell went ballistic in the 8 games that he really played. I mean, he missed, he suffered that fractured fibula week 13 against the Denver Broncos, but he was electric as well. Now, in terms of handicapping, who should be picked ahead of the other? Is it Nico Collins? Is it Tank Dell? Well, there were 9 games where both Collins and Dell were on the field together and played the majority or all of the entire game, right? In 5 of those 9 games, Collins outscored Dell in PPR fantasy points, all right? So, listen, it was almost a draw, but Collins got the slight upper hand. And he will be drafted ahead of Tank Dell this season. He should. He'll be possibly an early 3rd-round pick, whereas Tank Dell, I think, will slide to round 4. Now, you're probably saying, well, you talk about having 2 wide receivers on one team. You're supposed to, fade the second guy, in this case, Dell, and go with the first. Yes, but that is really more true if it's a 1st or 2nd-round pick. If both guys are 1st, 2nd, 3rd-round picks. Tank Dell's not going to be a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd-round pick. He'll be a 4th. But even if we ignored that, though, having those 2 guys on the same team, Collins, I think, is going to be the better guy, the better player, the more consistent player than Dell. So he would be the guy I'd want to have. So, honestly, I really think, 80 catches, 1,297 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think that is scratching the surface of what what Collins can do this season. If he's there in the 3rd round, I'm taking him. I think he's going to be around 88 to 90 catches, 1,245 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's what I have him as. Because, listen, there's going to be times where they're going to flip-flop. Sort of like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I think those 2 are going to flip-flop at times in St. Louis, whereas Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it's going to be Hill the majority of the time, or A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Brown the majority of the time. Those top receivers are going to more often than not beat the number 2 guys. Whereas I do think Collins and Dell are close enough in ability that they might flip-flop it. Let's say there's 17 games and maybe Collins comes out on top 9 and Dell comes out on 8. Well, that makes sense. It'll be a 3rd and a 4th-round pick. But I'm very bullish on Collins. This is a pass-first offense in Houston. Go get Nico Collins. He's going to be really good, guys, and he may never be this cheap, going forward. All right, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think about Nico Collins. Post in the columns. Become a member of the channel if you wish. More videos coming. Stay tuned.